Hi everybody, this is Linda with lindasueplantsforyou. Today we're going to talk about, the Calathea family, or Calathea, if you prefer that pronunciation. Just to let you know, I do interchange those words periodically because I've been saying Calathea my whole life, and someone corrected me and told me that the proper pronunciation is Calathea, so I looked it up and sure enough that is correct. So trying to get used to that, but bear with me while I practice. Okay, I have two reasons for doing this video today. One is to update you on some things that have been going on here in my plant world, and the other is kind of it's a little bit of a negative, so I'm going to put it out there right now and get it out of the way so that we can end on a happy note. I have been hearing for a long time about how Calatheas need high humidity. I have seen a few YouTubers who have agreed with me and said that's not necessarily true. Now, before you run out and turn your humidifier off, let me just say, a lot is going to depend on your environment, and I can't stress that enough. If you live in a climate where your natural humidity is running between 40 and 50, that should be fine for these plants. Now, that being said, it also depends on the kind of light you're giving them. So if you're putting these plants in a south window, first of all, I don't think any of them would survive, but I'm open to be proven wrong because, you know, it depends on your atmosphere, and not everybody's southern exposure is equal, right? What I have found is, and the other thing is that these are only only able to be propagated by separation, and that's not true either. Some of them, yes, but not all of them. And I'm going to try to just touch on a few of these here. If I have to go through every detail of each plant, we're going to be here for 2 hours. So I'm going to try and touch on the important things that I want you guys to know. And I'm mainly putting this out there for the newbies. I want the new plant moms and dads who are getting excited about filling up their home with natural green, and you know, just, we all know how precious these plants can be to us, especially this last year. I think a lot of people have gravitated toward them because of being housebound, and you can get so much joy and satisfaction out of raising a plant. And that's the other thing, you know, you don't have to buy the biggest, most beautiful, fullest specimen. The joy of it is bringing a small plant home and then nurturing it and feeding it and watering it and raising it and enjoying the end result. You know, you want to enjoy the journey. Take your time. Don't be in a hurry to get the biggest, most beautiful plant. Pay attention to what your plant is telling you and just nurture it. And then, if you're lucky enough where you have a plant that grows up to be big and beautiful, then wow, kudos to you, you know. I'm having issues with people going out and buying big, you know, 3-foot round Calatheas and putting them, and then doing a video on the care of a Calathea when they've never owned one before. I don't want to see people get steered wrong, okay? And I'm not saying that the advice they're giving is wrong. I'm just saying, if you have been raising a certain type of plant, certain genus, certain species, for a long time, you get to know what those plants like and don't like. And those are the people that I listen to. I can give a very good example of that is Summer Rain Oaks. If you haven't ever seen her channel, you really should take a look at it. She She is not only very, very knowledgeable in all types of plants, she travels all over the world to different greenhouses and things, and she brings some very good and useful information back to the States. She's from New York, and she's also happens to be a entomologist. And for those of you that don't know what that is, it's a degree in, for lack of a better term, bugs. So they study the life cycles and things of bugs. So she's got a very well-rounded background, and that's very helpful. Okay, so getting that out of the way, let me tell you, excuse me, what's going on under my roof. Those of you that have been following me know that I've been dealing with thrips. And my friends, that is the worst. I hope I never have to deal with this again. It's been months, and just when I thought they were gone, I saw one flying in my bathroom, and I was devastated. So I continue to treat. Now, I do have a handle on it. I do believe that pretty much of my problem is gone, but it only takes one adult to lay eggs and start all over again. I've also heard people say, no big deal, if you get thrips, you just treat once in a while. That's not true. They are going to decimate your houseplant collection if you let it go. They're very ferocious. In fact, when they're outside, they build nests in the ground, and if you happen to step on that with bare feet, you can get bit. They have like little claws and something on them, and they're very, they can harm your plants very quickly. So if you have thrips, you want to take care of it right away. The way that I did it is I used Captain Jack's dead bug spray. I bought the concentrate. Well, first we bought the spray bottle, and when I realized that was going to be used up in a couple of plants, my husband went back and bought 2 bottles of the concentrate, and then that one is mixed 1 tablespoon per gallon of water, so it goes a very long way. Then the other thing I always have used is bonide granules that I put in the soil to kill any larvae or eggs that are about to hatch. And I continue to use that. The problem with it is thrips can become immune to certain systemic pesticides. So I don't know what's going to happen if I don't completely get rid of these, but like I said, I do believe that I have already. I think I'm down to the end here. I'm hoping. But getting on with my Calathea family here, I just want to say a couple things. I do not over-fertilize these. In fact, I probably should fertilize them more often. One of the reasons I don't is because I have in the past burned some of the leaves, even using a quarter-strength fertilizer, even using organic fertilizer, even using fish emulsion. So I got a little nervous when it came to feeding them. The other reason is I'm running out of room. My plants are getting so huge, and there's not one that I can look at and think I want to part with it right now. I might have 1 or 2 I'd be willing to let go of, but for the most part, the plants that I have, I grew up from little on, and I'm not looking to move them out of here when they get too big for the house. So I have to be careful, because if I feed my plants, they're going to grow, and I will soon have nowhere to put them. So that's my other reasoning. Now, as far as humidity goes, I did purchase a small humidifier not this last winter, but the winter before, because it got extremely cold. I'm talking, we had like 30 below actual temperatures for days at a time. And the furnace was running, it never shut off. So it got down to, I think it was 29 or 30% on my hygrometer, and I got really nervous for all of my plants. So, and also for us, it's not healthy. for humans or plants. So my husband went to Walmart and picked me up a $30, $40 humidifier, and I ran that, and I only used it for a couple of weeks, and I actually am getting ready to clean it out and put it away because I haven't used it since, and it's taking up precious plant room. But my average humidity here is, right now it's running around between 50 and 60%, right around 52 to 55, and some days it shoots up to 60, 62, and we're in April. So, you know, I think I'm going to be okay. Now, in the summertime, because I can't handle the heat, I have the air on, I always have to keep a close eye on that humidity, because if it brings the temperature down, it's also going to bring the humidity down. Obviously, the air conditioner takes the moisture out of the air, and if that happens, my plants may suffer. So I do keep an eye on it. But for the most part, when I hear people say they really love high humidity, folks, I haven't seen that. I have not witnessed that. I have not experienced that. I know others who agree with me. So just be careful with that. There was one gal on here about a year and a half ago, and she was listening to what everybody was saying, and she had 2 humidifiers going on in her room, and she was spraying, and she had pebble trays. Well, she ended up killing half of her collection. And she said in the end, I will never do that again. And she didn't. And then she went on to purchase more, and now they're growing fine. So too much humidity is not good for these. The other thing that these plants really like, and they're all different. They're not all identical. Some of them like a little more, they don't like to dry out. And I've heard people say in a YouTube video that a certain plant likes to be kept evenly moist. Not true in my house, because when I do it, I end up with browning on the leaves. So, or not browning, but they get, soggy. They're overwatered. So you have to be, I guess, diligent in paying attention to what your plant need is in your house. Okay? That's the only way I know how to put it. I'm sorry, I wish I could be a little more specific. For the most part, I let these plants get pretty dry. Not totally dried out, but pretty much on the dry side before I water them. Now, I know for sure one of the plants that doesn't like that is my rattlesnake Calathea, and I'll show you that in a second. But before I do, I want to just touch on a few things that I did here, and well, let's get this out of the way. This is my Calathea ornata, and I don't know if you all remember, but she was down to 1 leaf, and I don't know, I could not figure out what I was doing wrong, and to be honest, I still don't know what was wrong with her at the time. I'm giving her the same treatment and the same conditions now that I was then, and now she's growing. She's just getting another new leaf there, you can see. And this one, I do tend to let it get almost on the dry side. It's probably the moisture is probably, can you see my hand here? Yeah. It's not totally light. I'm going to say if I reach down to about here, that much is dry. And the rest of this is moist. I'm not going to water this for another day or 2. When she almost died, when I was down to the 1 leaf, and this is the Calathea ornata in case I haven't said, my friend Suzette from Suzette's Garden said, why don't you try putting her in a plastic bag and see what happens? Well, this was my 3rd Calathea ornata. So I was frustrated, and I wasn't sure I even wanted to bother. I was so sad and just plain worn out from trying to make that grow. But I thought, well, all right, I'll try one last thing. She said, go ahead, just put it in a bag and forget about it. So I did. I put it in my east window, I put it in a sealed plastic bag. I blew some air in it, gave it a little moisture, and 6 months nothing happened. And I thought, yeah, no, that one's done. Well, I don't know what happened. I got busy, or I set it back down and forgot about it. And about 2 weeks later, lo and behold, there was a little tiny shoot coming up. I was so excited. It was like, oh my gosh, she's sprouting a new baby. And sure enough, so then I called Suzette back and I said, do you think I should take that out of the bag? And she said, I'd leave it in there for a little while, but just leave it open, let some air get that. So I did that. And here she is. Now, I know this isn't the biggest, most beautiful specimen of this plant, but my goodness, I was down to one leaf and she was still dying. So I'm very, very excited about the progress on here. Okay, so that's that. This is my, what is this one called? Calathea, oh, Limburtii is what I've got on here. I think that's what this is. Stenanthe. It's a C as in cat, T. Stenanthe. And this plant I got, these came to me as cuttings. I think they were from Suzette. Yeah, they were. And I don't know, she seemed to be doing okay, and then all of a sudden she started acting up. So I couldn't figure out what was wrong. I still don't know what was wrong. But then I was watching Summer Rain Oaks, and she did a propagating video on this plant. So I watched it, and I was really stunned from what I saw. She took and snipped off the real long, and these were real long. They were like 2 feet tall, so, but spindly, and I wanted to do something with them. So she took and snipped it off, like right about here, and she stuck it in soil. Didn't do anything to it. No rooting powder, I don't believe, nothing. Just made a hole, stuck it in there, and watered it. And I thought, well, how is that going to get roots? There's no nodes on there. And then she went on to explain it. But anyway, I wasn't paying close enough attention when I did it. I didn't have it down far enough. Oh, here's one of the cuttings I can show you. Right here, this part has to be in the soil. This part. That's the node right there. That's where the roots are going to come out of. I had this stem longer and I had only that part. I was afraid if I put this in it would rot, but it didn't. And as you can see, it's still green, but I don't think this one's going to make it. But we're going to see. I'm not, as long as it's green, I'm going to keep trying. But I ended up putting this in the soil down past that point so that that node part is actually in there. Now, I did that with 2 pieces. That one and I believe this was the other one. I'm still waiting for those to open and to do something, but like I said, they haven't died, so I haven't given up. If they start browning, then I'll have to just admit that I made a mistake and not do that again. Now, the other thing that happened, and I want to show you this. Do you see those new shoots coming? Right, here's one, and here's one, and here's one, and these are so strong, they almost feel like toothpicks. They're hard, so they're healthy, and I cannot wait for those to sprout open. So we'll see. I'll revisit this again. I'll bring it back again and show you. But if you have one of these and it's tall and leggy as these tend to get, try that and see if it works for you. And just remember, you got to get that node down in the soil. All right. Now, this is... I just purchased this to replace one that I killed. Well, I didn't kill it. The thrips killed it. But I just got this one for $12.99 at... I forget which store I bought it from. I think it was Stein's. Maybe it was Lowe's. I don't remember. But when I brought it home, I realized that this one too has some kind of insect damage, but it looked like it was old. So I am going to be cleaning this up today. I'm not going to do that right now on camera because I have too much other stuff to show you, but I'll be cutting off the stuff that looks like it was affected, especially this one. We don't want that on there. I don't want that on there. This is the medallion, Calathea medallion. Some people confuse this with the Rosio pictus. That's not what this is. So, and this one, she likes to be a little more on the moist side. That I know about her. Also, none of these plants can handle cold temperatures or drafts. If you got them near a window or you got them near a door that opens and closes frequently, get them away from there. If it's someplace near a hallway where you're walking past and forth and you're creating that draft, get it out of there. Some of these are a little more tolerant of drafts than others, but most of them do not like drafts or cold below 65, and that's pushing it. They don't need hot, humid temperatures like some people say, but they do not like cold drafts. And all of their watering needs are a little bit different. They vary from plant to plant. So if you want to know those details, I would suggest you Google, well, here we have the UWM extension, but get your information from a good source so that you don't get confused and end up killing your plant. And okay, that's that. I can't wait to see her big and beautiful. I'm really excited about her. I can't believe I found her again. Okay, and of course we have our Stromanthe Trio Star. I've heard it called tricolor and I don't know, a couple different names, but it's actually the Trio Star. She really likes, actually these all pretty much like lower light. I've seen some beautiful specimens of Calathea grown in northern exposures. And I had this one in a western, well, these are all in a western exposure, but it's right next to my window, which is a covered porch, and up until now there was a huge tree out in front of that. So although it was a west window, it didn't get a true west light. It had a lot of dappled shade. Now that that tree is gone, I may have to end up moving all of these to a different area. So we'll see, and if I do, then I'll bring that update to you. But she's very healthy. Look at her stems. I mean, they're so firm, and I don't give her extra humidity, ever. Just, when you get this, it's from inconsistent watering. That's what that's from. Either too much or too little. Watering, also, I don't use anything but distilled water. Now, I know there are people that can use their own well water, which we have. They don't like our well water. And actually, we don't drink our well water either. We buy bottled water for drinking. The other thing is, if you have well water and you're using a water softener, I don't know of any plant that likes that salt and gets salt buildup. So maybe you think everything's fine, and then all of a sudden your plant starts showing signs of distress and you can't figure out what's wrong, take a look at that salt content in your soil, because that could very well be a buildup of salts, which the plants do not like. But I use distilled water, and I don't have any problem with browning edges and curling edges anymore or anything. And I have her on the bottom shelf. She's not even in front of the window. She's just off the floor on a shelf in my living room. And she gets some indirect light from my LED light that I have shining on a table next to it. So it's very indirect. It's not even close to being direct. So that's that one. And she's very pretty. I mean, just look at the color on her. She's gorgeous and healthy. And by the way, when I got this plant, it was full of fungus gnats. I opened her up, and I happened to open her up over in my laundry room, I have a big tub of soil, and I set her on the table next to it, and I opened her up over that, because I didn't want to get soil on the ground, and as I'm twisting the plastic around her roots, all of a sudden I see all these bugs crawling, but it was too late. I had already opened the plastic. So then I ended up getting those in my tub of soil. So, oh, I was not happy. But we survived it, and she's very, very pretty. Love her. And I love the backs of her leaves. They're gorgeous. So she's very healthy. This rattlesnake Calathea, she's much thinner than she was the last time you saw her, and that's because the thrips got to her. And you can still kind of see some of the damage here. Hopefully you can see that, where the thrips were eating. Another sign of thrips is this right here. Hopefully you can see this. See that? And that. That's from thrips. For some reason, they like to go to the outer edges of the leaves, and also the new growth. And they like fruit. So be careful when you bring bananas home. My husband had an uncle that wouldn't allow, I used to go over and help him and take care of him and help him out, and I was cleaning up his kitchen one day, and he got mad at me because I took the bananas out of the bag. I said, well, they're going to rot in there. No, they won't. And I found out that when you have bugs in bananas, they're in the stems, and after you have them home a while, if you don't eat them right away, they will hatch. The eggs will hatch. That's what they are. And then all of a sudden you got these bugs flying around, and most of us know them as fruit flies. And some of them are fruit flies. Some of them are fungus gnats. Some of them are thrips. So you don't know what you're dealing with until you get it under a microscope. So be careful when you bring your bananas home. Keep them in a bag. Okay. I'm anxious for this to get full again. She was so full you couldn't see through her, and now she's what I would consider kind of bare. But her color is still good. The leaves that are here are strong, and so I think she's going to be okay. All right. Pull the dead stuff off of here while I got it in front of me, and I sure hope I'm helping you guys. I hope I'm not creating, more confusion, because that's the last thing I want to do. I'm just trying to help. And I know back in the day when I first started collecting plants years ago, I used to get so frustrated because different people would tell me different things, and that was way, 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 way before we had internet. So that was where I had to get my information live from different people who also had houseplants. And even back then, you'd get different answers from different people. So I just want to try and help you all, think for yourself and pay attention to your own plants, because what might work for one person may not work for the other. And I'd love to see everyone be successful in growing their plant babies up. All right, almost to the end here. Macoyana, that's how it is, Macoyana, Calathea. She is doing very well. Once again, I'm getting a lot of new shoots that you can see in the center there. And this one too, I don't overwater, but I don't let this one dry out completely or as far down as some of the other ones. And so far she seems to like it. Now, I almost lost her to the thrips, so some of these leaves are new. Even the new ones, like this one here, if you can see, the thrips got to her. So, but I do believe that we got it handled now. And the fact that I'm getting a lot of new growth, that's encouraging. It doesn't mean she's completely free of them, but it's very encouraging. The thrips like that new growth too. So if you have thrips and you have a plant that's got a new leaf unfurling, try and get your treatment down in that leaf, because that's where they like to go. So you don't want to miss it. In fact, that's how I got them in the first place. They came in on a plant from another country, and I thought there was something wrong when I got it, but I thought, well, maybe it was just from shipping. But over time, we narrowed it down to, yeah, that had to be the culprit, because when she had a leaf that was not yet even close to unfurling, and when it did, half of the leaf was chewed up. It was eaten by thrips. And all of the plants that I had right next to that plant that were touching her or almost touching her, those were the worst cases of thrips of all my plants. So I'm pretty sure that is where I got them from. I guess I can't be 100%, and I don't want to mention names because I'm not 100%. And I would hate to, spoil somebody's livelihood or their business over one plant. But I just, to let you know that be careful when you get plants in, be very careful before you introduce them to your collection. Okay, and last, I think, but not least, you've got my Marantas. Now, most of you will remember how big and beautiful both of these were, the red Marantha and the lemon lime. And I was absolutely in love with these. I still am. They're one of my favorites. And I had 5 pots with my red Marantha. They were cascading down an antique shelf that my hubby found and brought home and refinished, and it was just gorgeous. In fact, you can go back, and I don't remember how long ago, but I do have a couple of videos, I think, showing that stand with these plants on there. The thrips really got to these. This one was brand new when I brought it home, not too long ago, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. This is my lemon lime Marantha. Absolutely love her. Wanted her for a long time. I was so excited when I saw her in the store. The guy from Florida was the truck driver from Florida was just bringing them in And I said, oh my gosh, you've got a lemon marantha. He said, I got a whole truckload, lady. I said, oh, cool. So I bought one, and it was huge, huge. And it started to decline and started to decline. Well, I think two things happened with this. One is, I think it was getting too much light. I had it on the shelf with my in my west window there, but I had the lamp, my LED lamp, shining on the plant stand. Something told me to move it away. Well, first of all, I moved this plant at least 3 times and put it in 3 different places, and it continued to decline. And here it is. You can see. I have to cut that off. That's been there a while now, but I wanted to show you that, what happened. And she also had thrips. So she had 2 things going on here. But, once again, I want to show you, she has got all kinds of new shoots. I bet you there's 10 of them in here. I gotta be careful, because whenever I edit my videos, it's like, oh my goodness, I didn't need to shove it up in their face, but I want to just make sure that you see it, so I end up holding them too close, and I apologize for that. But okay, so I'm going to clean this up. I'm not going to do it on camera because this is already getting long, but I did want to let you know that these are, some people have asked me about my red maranthas, and they are, I'm going to say, just okay. I'm not out of the woods with these folks. I'm not. They shouldn't be hanging down like this. They should be standing up, and they don't. They don't stand up at night either. They're supposed to close up like a, that's why they're called prayer plants, but they don't. But they do move a little bit from day to night. They open up more during the day. So we'll see what happens. I'm going to just keep plugging away at it, and hopefully I can save it. I also have a piece that I'm rooting in water, and she's got some roots on her, so I'm going to put her in yet a different spot. But I think I'm going to treat these one more time, just to make sure that the thrip issue is gone. And then as the new growth comes out, maybe, hopefully, they'll stand up the way they're supposed to, and they'll be gracefully flowing over like they used to be. I'm hoping. And honestly, if I get to a store and I see either one of these and the plant is big and beautiful, I'm coming home with it, because I don't mind having to wait and nurture this back, but I really, really miss looking at those big, healthy plants. So I probably will buy them if I see them. Alright, and I think that's about it. Lower light, average humidity, and by average I'm going to say 45 to 55. Soil. I don't do anything special with the soil. I used to use orchid bark mix. I haven't done that since last fall, and I have not had one fungus gnat. And I'm going to keep mentioning that. And if I do end up with a fungus gnat, then, you know, who knows, it might have been from something else. But, I mean, we were getting inundated with those things. And it seems to me it started around the time I started using orchid bark, because I thought I should. And I got to thinking, orchid bark is plant matter, and some of our pests, and especially fungus gnats, feed on decaying plant matter. And since that orchid bark, although it's hard to get it wet in the first place, once it's wet, it doesn't dry out too easily. So I felt like I was providing a posh hotel for the fungus gnats. And when I started repotting everything, and getting it out of that, getting that orchid bark out of there, I noticed my fungus gnat population was going away. And like I said, I have not seen, not one, I believe, since last fall. So there might be something to this, and I'm going to continue to pay attention to it. It might be an experiment you want to try yourself, or maybe you never have problems with them and it works for you. No. I'm going to use my bags of orchid bark outside, because outside they have natural predators. So I won't have to worry about it there. But inside, yeah, no more orchid bark for me. Alright. And I think lastly is an update on my... I just repotted this a week ago. I think it was my last video, actually. And this is a Calathea Burley Marksii. And she is doing great. I had her in a pot. She was getting too tall for the shelf I had her on, so I thought if I could put her in a lower vessel and spread her out a little bit, it would give me a little more time before I had to move her off that shelf. Because she really, really loves where she's living. But the shelf only has so much room, and then there's another shelf. So she's basically outgrowing her spot. So I'm not sure what we're going to do about that, but look at her. She's great. And those of you that saw that video, if you remember that baggie that I used to, I found a little nest, a swarm of little crescent-shaped larvae, white larvae, and it was about this much in a spot. And I scooped that out with a spoon and I put it in a baggie, and hubby looked at it through a magnifying glass. He said he couldn't even find it. Nothing was moving. And I kept it in the bag. It's still in there. I'm waiting to see what's going to happen in the 10-day period. But I don't think there was anything alive. I'm glad I caught it, but that was in here. But this has been treated also for thrips. And I think that's what those were. So thank goodness I repotted this and found them. Alright, I think that's it. I hope you all learned something. I hope I didn't offend anybody with my opinions. That it really truly is not my intention. I never want to hurt anybody's feelings. I just don't want to see people be steered in the wrong direction. I don't know. I'm not sure, you know, how else to let you know without just coming out and telling you. So please, you know, if you are one of those people that believe that you need higher humidity for these plants and that's working for you, great. I'm not trying to put anybody down, and I'm not saying you're wrong and I'm right. I'm just saying, for those of you that don't know what to do and you're afraid to get these plants because you can't provide those perfect conditions, don't be afraid to get them. Don't be afraid. Try it. Just try it. They bring so much pleasure and beauty to my plant world. And if that doesn't work for you and you end up having to buy a little humidifier for $25-30, then so be it. But I don't think you will. I think you'll be fine. Okay, so, okay, soil, light, watering. I think we touched on the watering. Once again, distilled water is all I use on my Calatheas, and it's starting to be all I use on some of my other plants too. And I've seen a huge difference in their health overall. So yeah, they're not liking our well water, but we don't have very good water. We have a very shallow well, and we have to use salt, so there's salt in it. So I just use the distilled water, and they're fine. I've also heard someone do a whole video on why you should never use distilled water on your plants, and the crux of that video said that it's because it's devoid of any minerals, so your plants aren't getting the minerals. Well, no, they're not getting them from the water, but they are getting them from other sources. They're still getting them from the soil. They're still getting them from, if you use worm castings or fertilizer, or even perlite. You know, you look at perlite and you think that's a dead something. That even has minerals in it. So yes, your plants are still getting plenty of minerals, even if you just use distilled water. So no worry about that. Brita filter, I've heard some people have success with that, and I've heard others say no. I myself have not tried it, so I don't know, and I'm very leery to do that because, again, I don't want any more issues with my plants. Okay, that's it. We're going to wrap it up, and I hope I've helped you. I hope I haven't confused anybody. And I hope today's Tuesday, so I hope you all have a good rest of your week, and I hope you'll all come back. And if you like my videos, give me a thumbs up, and subscribe, because I've got a lot more coming. I have a lot more content. I have different plants. Some I don't think I've ever even shown before, and I will be doing those in the near future here now. So do come back, okay? And thank you again for visiting. Bye now.